Uh, uh, what we're trying to do now is to stain our bridge. So before staining, we're gonna look at the shade. So we have the A2 shade. So using a Vita classical guide shade, we're gonna look at the the way we build up the porcelain and the shading. So it looks to me pretty close, um, but we still need to do a little bit of staining before glazing. So I have my trays with stains here, and I'm gonna use a brush that it's a very thin stain brush. It's clean, and this brush it's used only for staining and glazing. And I'm gonna start by, if we look at the shade guide, by the cervical, the color it's a little more yellowish. So we're gonna use this kind of ochre color, small amounts of stain, and apply it uh, on the cervical all around our bridge. Also, when we apply the stains, we have to be careful not to um, put any stains on the color. We want the color to be free of any old porcelains because it's going to be easy to polish. So the stains in themselves are very intense. So small amount of stain and add if and where it's necessary. So every time I add a little bit of stain, then I'll check with my guide to see how close I am to the color. So it looks like on the premolar, it's a little more intense. So I'm going to take some off. Okay. And I'm going to add a little more on the Pontic. The Pontic, because it has not the amount of porcelain, it's a little more than a regular abutment. We have to be careful with the staining. All right. Also, we can use staining underneath the Pontic on the area that's touching the gum. Um, it's not always necessary to put stains there, but I like to kind of complete the shade, and also glazing it's very important for that area. Now, next thing will be to add a little bit of blue to kind of mimic the or to emphasize the incisal edge or the cusps. So usually very thin layer, and you know, go around, and if you feel like it's too much, you can take some off. It shouldn't be very visible, it should be very subtle. Always check with your guide. So I'm looking now at the incisal edge if it's matching, and it's matching. Okay. Next thing will be to do a little characterization. I'll use a little bit of white again, white stain in a very subtle area just to emphasize the cusp tips. So cusp tips very little white, just to kind of give you a hint that we have a little cusp there. If this will be anterior bridge, I will use it on the incisal edge. Very, very subtle, very little. Okay. And now for the anatomy on the occlusal, I'm going to use this mahogany, which is very intense. And I'm just going to flow it into our grooves that we put in there and kind of spread it around. Now, see, it's a little bit intense. So I'm going to clean my brush and take out the excess. We just want a very little amount. Also, we can use this mahogany color in between to kind of create the illusion of individual crowns or individual teeth. Now, when we're gonna apply uh, the glaze, some of the stains, if are very subtle, they might get lost a little bit. So make sure if you have to add uh, a crack line or hypocalcification, you intensify the color a little more because the glaze kind of washes off a little bit the color. Okay. And that will be my stain bridge. And before I fire it, I'll use my guide, shade guide to kind of look at the color, kind of matching. So this is ready for firing. After we firing the stains, we're just gonna fire a thin layer of glaze, polish the color, polish the metal, clean the inside, lightly sandblast it, and it's ready for its insertion. Okay.